Lydia, the lifestyle coach, helping people to not have eating disorders anymore and to finally have peace with food. And I'm so excited for the incredible woman that you guys get to meet today. She has had an amazing journey, being in this cycle for so long and is now completely free. And, on the journey, freedom is a skill that we continue to practice. And so she's such a beautiful example of that and just an amazing human. So I'm really excited for you guys to get to know her and to just glean just the inspiration and insight from her story. So let's bring her on the show. Mary Beth, I'm so happy you're here today. Hello, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So I am just thrilled that you are getting to share your story, that you have such an amazing story to share. There's so many cool things that I know that we want to go into, but just give us a little bit of background, tell us a little bit about you, and then, tell us where you were at sort of before, what's your story with your relationship with food?
Yeah. So I'm 32 years old, single. I have a bachelor's. I'm nursing. I work in surgery, and I did a lot of travel contracts around the country. But my disorder relationship with food, my eating disorder started probably when I was in about fifth or sixth grade, when you go through puberty. And I thought, those were the first inklings where I thought I was fat. And another thing for me is, my dad has a binge eating disorder, and my grandmother is actually anorexic to this day. It's actually very sad. But I think throughout high school, I remember having, always wanting to be thinner. I would have like a Slim Fast bar and an apple for lunch at school, and then just come home and start. I remember binging first in high school, standing up. I would eat cans of soup, not even cooked, when I got home, because I was just starving, and then when I went to college, it wasn't as relevant, which was wonderful. I was really engaged socially with people, and I didn't have, I don't remember binging extensively. And then when I started into my career, I always wanted to be thinner, and I think the exercising started to get into that, because I definitely used exercise as my tool of purging. And so a couple years later, after I started my career, I actually had gotten a DUI, which really led to a lot of isolation in my job. And I would just, want to be thinner. That drive was really strong, and I would work out a lot. And I think the lowest point that I had is for a few years, I was so fatigued because I was so thin. All I could do was work out and work. That was it, So isolation socially, I was traveling around the country, so I was physically alone as well. And yeah, that's what it was like before. It was not fun.
Yeah. So it sounds like your life is really to a place where you did two things, right? You worked because you got to work, and then you worked out because that was just it was just the isolation, just sort of like Groundhog Day was sort of this misery of being in the cycle of just, wanting to restrict. And just how did that emotionally feel to be so isolated and to really have your life kind of turn into these two things?
Yeah. So, my life, emotionally, it would just, I would just lay on the couch and watch TV. And, I just remember crying at random times. And, you know, I was like, can't live like this anymore, not being able just, I would talk on the phone with people, but it was weird. I would just randomly cry, or I would just be so numbed and zoned out all the time that I wasn't feeling.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how long would you say that, I know this started early on, so how many years were you struggling with this before we found each other?
Yeah, so I think when you're in fourth or fifth grade, I think it was 10 or 11, and I'm 32 now, and in 2014, so about three and a half years ago, is when I first sought help, from counselors, and then I went through a realm of different things before I found you at towards the end of 2017.
Yeah. So with this impacting your life so much, and it sounds like this was something that you did start seeking help for. Like, one, what made it at a point for you where you were ready to start seeking help? And two, tell us a little bit about like what did you try, Mary Beth, to try to be done with your eating disorder?
Yeah. So, the first, when I started to recognize that my life was miserable and I could not live like this, and actually, one of my driving points was I thought I was going to hell because I was like, this is not using life in the way that it was meant to be, is just to, be on the couch fatigued so badly. And my mom had made several comments, and it just, I moved back home and I went to see a counselor. And I remember, intensely crying that first counseling session. So when we talk about stuff that I had tried, I went to counseling for about 3 years. But I would still have the restrict binge cycle. So I would still be binging, and I would still be over exercising. And then I had gone to OA. I had gone for like almost a year. And actually, the first time I talked to you was when I was in OA. And then I went through some different other programs. I actually did another program. Um, and just different groups. I went to eating disorder recovery groups. I tried numerous things with that, which were, financially taking up a lot. But then also, they just weren't fixing the eating issue.
Yeah. So it sounds like with the things that you did, like nothing ended the cycle. Like throughout all that, you were still in that same cycle. Is that right?
Right, right. And I had put on weight to be at a healthier level, but I had never, gotten to a point where my body was functioning or that I was not still having binges.
Yeah. And what was this just doing to you just physically? Like what were the effects of being in this cycle all the time? And just, I mean, I know that emotions, have an impact on our physical life as well. So like physically, what was happening for you, Mary Beth?
Yeah. Something that I didn't realize at the time, when you're in this cycle, is how poorly my brain was functioning. I would have constant racing thoughts, and was not able to focus. And I would also have trouble sleeping. In February of 2010, I quit having a period, like nothing. It went from pretty regular to nothing. And, the first few years, I didn't really worry about it. It was kind of nice. And then as the years went on, you know, I would go to the doctor, but just to make sure that I didn't have cancer, but I would lie to them because I was so ashamed about it. And I didn't want to be tested for a whole bunch of things. So, like I said, physically and mentally, I think it was affecting me a lot. And what's interesting is, when people comment about how thin you are, it even drives the eating disorder up, because it was like I would take those compliments even though I was really, really struggling, which is so sad that I would get complimented about that.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you bring that up. I think that's a really important thing for people to have awareness of when we comment on women's bodies, no matter if it's, like whatever the comment is, right? Like commenting so much on women's bodies and offering so much praise or, saying so much disappointment toward that is something that really impacts just our lives, so I think it's really important for us to just know the harm that we can do by complimenting and praising the things that a lot of times there's so much misery behind to maintain. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. Like for you in that state, what do you feel like was the hardest part of having an eating disorder?
Um, I think, well, first of all, not having an identity besides that.
Mm,
Um, my whole life was about, like eating right, or exercising or being, the health girl. And I didn't know other things that I liked really. And I was very good at just kind of like faking it. Um, and just a lot of shame about it, not being able to talk about it with people, not knowing really where to seek help, or and not getting the help that was needed to fix the problem with binge eating, and also to have like that self-worth as a woman, because obviously I remember people saying to me all the time, "Oh, you're so thin, you look so great." And I'm like, I have a full-blown eating disorder, you know, but this is my identity. So it was what it was. I wasn't, for a long time, I just thought that that was me, and I didn't see a lot of other options of who I could create my identity in.
Yeah. And it's so amazing how it keeps us from getting to know ourselves, because it takes up so much, even just mental energy, and time. And, just like you said, like not having an identity outside of that, like it really stunts us from getting in touch with who we are. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things in life, is like getting in touch with who we are. So yeah. Anything else for you, Mary Beth, just sort of like on that side of things, like when you still had an eating disorder, like anything about that you wanted to share that is part of your story?
I think also like it definitely stunted me in growth with like dating guys. I didn't, and I think, and even in general relationships, having eating disorder wants to isolate you. So I kept everybody at a distance, and I missed out on a lot. um I was so fatigued all the time, even though I was going to these great places. I could do a few activities, but I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And then relationship wise, with friends or dating, I was so scared. um I don't know if it was necessarily because I would think they would find out, but I think I just wasn't interested, because I was just so absorbed with just being thinner, 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 even though it was not creating happiness.
Yeah, I totally get that. I remember like how much importance I used to place on food. Like food was like the most exciting thing in the world. Like nothing in the world sounded better or more fun. Like not being with my daughter, not being with, the people that I love. It was just like nothing's quite as amazing as like eating food, right? So like when you get away from that, when you sort of get interest back in the things that are really important to you, it's amazing when food just has its place and it doesn't have all this like driven up heightened value, how different life is. So yeah, that's a great thing to bring awareness to. And you have an amazing story. And I know like there's a lot that we miss out on. And I'm so proud of you for like continuing to search, like continuing to look, to continue to have hope. Like a lot of times that's what it comes down to, is like having the willingness to continue to have hope so you can find the thing that works. So like when we first got connected, at what point were you? Like what things were you trying to find? What were you planning to do when we had first connected, like to be able to end this? Like at what point were you in your journey of trying to find solutions?
Yeah. So I think like a month and a half before I started your program, I had actually done another program, which was still going on. And that was like $4,000. And it was like 6 weeks in, and I'm like, this isn't working for me. And then the group that I did every Monday, the lady had recommended me to go to a trauma intensivist in New York. That was like $14,000. It's all cash pay. And I was seriously contemplating that. I had scheduled a consultation, but I think for like almost a year, in and out, have watched your videos. And I had just loved your energy, and your approach was different, and I think that is what really attracted me to it, and that you were solution based, not about like all of this, in counseling we have to talk through everything, and you can talk forever, but the bottom line is like I need my food relationship to be taken care of. And when we did the discovery session, I'll never forget what you told me. You said, um, if you don't take this opportunity right now, things are just going to get worse. You guys had done the studies on that. And I was like, I want to be done with this. I'm 32. I don't want to deal with this the rest of my life.
Yeah. That's huge. So I'm so proud of you there. And I know like you're not alone in that feeling. There's another amazing grad. I know that you know her, but another amazing grad who did 25 years of therapy. And she just told me, she's like, Lydia, there's nothing else to talk about. Like, we're just talking about the same stuff. She's like, I've been doing this for 25 years. If it would have worked, it would have worked already because there's literally nothing else to talk about. And, now she's free and she's done, after we got to work together. But it's like just sort of that cycle of like, let's just keep on, uncovering things. I know like that can be important in a lot of ways, but for like any an eating disorder, like it's so nice to just be able to be done. So on this side of things, like what are you, okay, what is the best thing about life now? Like, a life of freedom, like, being where you're at now, what is like your most favorite thing now?
I would say, first of all, definitely the mental freedom. Like, I have so much time. It's great, to do stuff, and finding out what I like to do is just wonderful, and not just being focused and obsessed with the food. Being able to work and be focused, and in relationships and in conversations to be present. That's just so awesome when your brain is functioning correctly. And also, I was like so thrilled and surprised. At the end of December, I had a period. Almost 8 years.
Yay!
Yay! Yeah, it was a huge deal. Like, it's just amazing when you just let go. And yeah, it was just
How long
awesome.
had it been? How long had it been since you'd had a regular period?
I hadn't had anything since February 2010. And I had a period in December of 2017.
It's like
So
8 years.
years, yeah. And I just had another one. So I've had two. Yay.
Yay! That is
Yeah.
so awesome. And just like, what difference has it made to just like have your body functioning how it should in like a natural way? Like, how is just your hormones being in balance? Like, what difference has it made to just have like your health back in that way?
I feel a lot more grounded. I don't have all of these highs and lows, which you would get from binging anyways. I would have these extreme lows and extreme highs. And I feel like I said, my mental clarity is better. I can navigate situations that would have been more stressful with using the tools that you taught in your program. Just being able to be more, I would say, even keeled, but still, I'm outgoing and energetic, but just being able to navigate better. And I think it says a lot when your hormones are in balance, that you just feel more like yourself, and when your weight is at an appropriate level. So having my body working correctly has really, really helped me in the body image department as well. Because when I do have once in a while I'll have restriction thoughts, and I'll be like, no, I don't want to go back to that because my body wasn't working at all. Um, and like going and getting different clothes and just all that, I can really embrace my body because I know I'm at a healthy level now.
That's so beautiful. And that's not always an easy transition, to be able to say, okay, like I'm ready to have the body that is my body, that isn't a manipulated body, that isn't a restricted body, that isn't a forced body, that isn't a body that's continually a struggle. Like just being able to relax into like getting to know you, right? Like it's another piece of that, which is so cool. What else for you is different now than it used to be?
I think, well, the exercise part for sure, because now I'm exercising because I want to feel good, because I like enjoy the feeling of exercising, but I'm not continuously increasing my exercise. And I think also, kind of like in retrospect, I think I believed a lot of what the culture um, says that women should be. I think, we talked about the counseling. I think a lot of my eating disorder was just kind of, looking at magazines, or just thinking that I had to be, a size zero and look perfect, and have that perfectionistic, um, a lifestyle. So I think a lot bigger of a change is just knowing that I do not have to have those standards, and that I'm the best version of myself when I am healthy, and not being engaged in that and not having these ridiculous expectations of what the culture says women should be.
Yeah, that's a really big deal. It's a really big deal. That's so awesome. And I'm celebrating with you. Like, your story is so many women's stories, right? It's like we have these expectations put on us, and they can just create so much misery. And it's amazing how much joy there is in just getting to know ourselves and like that empowerment. It's really about that empowerment. So it is just so awesome. And for you, like, how has your relationship with food changed?
Yeah. So my relationship with food, was one of the really big things that you always said is you can have whatever you want, whenever you want it, as much as you want. And when I first had started your program, I had uh, not taken that, I think, to heart as much. And it took me a while, which is okay. It just took me longer than I had wanted, to be able to believe that. But my relationship with food now is, I don't like being uncomfortably full or binging, like what you said. I used to, it'd be so cool if I could binge every day. And now it's like, even if I want to overeat, I'm like, well, that is not going to make me feel good. I'm able to go to restaurants, and not look up the menu before and just pick what I want, which is amazing. Not counting calories, and figuring out my hunger fullness signals and utilizing that is wonderful. And just another thing is, when I would go on trips or go places, I would always bring a lot of stuff, a lot of snacks, and just being more free and just knowing that it's okay. There's always plenty of food. I'll always figure it out. And it just that is a lot of mental freedom.
Yeah, really neat. And I just want to bring awareness to how amazing it is and how freeing it is to literally have your desires change. Because I
Hmm.
know that when you're in it, like, when we're binging, when we're restricting, a lot of times the answer that we're looking for is just like, well, I know that I'll always want to binge, but I just have to find out a way not to. And
Right.
sometimes it doesn't occur to people like, oh, I can literally have my desires change where I don't want to binge. Like, if I had the opportunity, if there were no consequences, I still wouldn't want to because I just don't want to. Like, you can literally have that freedom, as in it's not a battle anymore. Like, it's just not your preference. Like, no, I'd rather not because it doesn't feel good.
Absolutely. And, you know, having so much time to, hang out with friends or go do stuff what I want. I don't want to be like have the food hangover in the morning, because I tend to binge in the afternoon or at night. And I don't want to feel terrible for the next day or two, or especially, in my work, I have to stand, and if I'm scrubbed for surgery, like I can't have binge the night before because I'll be sick. So that, and like you said, the desire does change. It's more about enjoying a meal with people and engaging in conversation and having fun than about eating perfectly.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And one thing I wanted to highlight, which I just love, just, we all have an individual journey, and I think it's really important to highlight like this thought. Sometimes people have this idea of like, there's so much pressure, like, okay, like, if I do this program, or if I work with Lydia, or whatever it is, whatever you're thinking of doing, a lot of times we have this pressure on ourselves of like, I'm going to do it, and if it doesn't work, like if it doesn't magically like click, then I'm doomed. And sometimes that will actually keep people from getting the help that they need because of the fear of, what if it doesn't work, and then I'm really, really, really doomed, right? So I would love to just hear like your experience, like how did things, like what we're doing, like in what I teach, it's a skill. It's literally a skill that you develop and you learn, and then it's the gift that keeps on giving. Like, it just gets better and better because you continue to practice the skill. So like, even after graduation, how did things get better for you even when you weren't in the program anymore?
Yeah. So the skill that we learn, I had done obviously with the perfectionism, had compared myself to other women in the program based on their successes, um, and was not letting my own freedom evolve in the way that it was supposed to. And finally, when I surrendered that and just started trusting in the process, what is amazing about your program is it keeps on giving, kind of in a multitude of ways. And I did not find that in other areas that I have tried. Um, so I got out of the program, I think it was like around the holidays, which was a wonderful time for me to start practicing these skills. And I just remember, at Christmas, just enjoying it and really engaging, like having really good conversation with my aunt. And then obviously after Christmas, I got my period. I had been on a couple trips and I had gotten a lot of compliments on how that I looked better, like in a healthy way. And I think the food really got a lot more even keeled and was not taking up so much mental space. So I think everybody has a different timeline of that. But it's wonderful that there's so many things that you can keep doing and keep evolving, and then you can use it in other areas of your life.
Yeah, which is so cool. Would you be willing to share, like, how have you applied these principles? Like, how have other parts of your life transformed because of sort of how you learned the skill in the way that you've become free with food?
Yeah. So, first of all, like I started dating like in December, which was awesome.
Yay! Fun.
Yeah, it's fun, but it can have a lot of ups and downs. So I think using your skills has really helped me because I don't find myself worth, in men, and I'm not going to the desire to go binge eat, if somebody rejects me is not there, which is awesome. Also in my life, just career wise, I actually had gotten, a job offer that was extremely poor. And just, I think people pleasing is another thing that I've used your skills kind of to reevaluate. I don't need to compromise my standards or anything like that because of what other people, just to people please them. And then also in my relationships with my family and my friends, um, not only am I able to be more present, I don't, overanalyze situations and just kind of let them happen and evolve. And if I have, any negative thoughts about things, I use the skills and the tools that I've learned to let them go.
That's beautiful. And that's the cool thing about like investing in skills for your brain, because like we do everything from our brain, it's like all of our thoughts come from that, and everything we do and everything we feel comes from our thoughts. So literally knowing how to navigate your thoughts is something that just like, okay, well, I guess that'll just help everything. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And like, your freedom and your transformation. I mean, like, of course, like I care about you and I think you're wonderful. And so like on an individual level, like it just brings me such joy to just see how things have changed for you. But then also just like you as another story of freedom, like that is so good for the world. And thank you for sharing and being willing to just be you and be real, because that's the thing, the real stories. Like there are people who will resonate with your story that will never resonate with mine, because we're different people. We have different experiences. So just for any of you who just have the desire to like share your story or just be real and authentic with people, know like that's a wonderful, powerful thing for the world, for us to feel open about things, because shame and silence go hand in hand. So even just speaking your story, speaking your truth, being willing to share, even if it's just with one person, can be really powerful. And so Mary Beth, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Anything else on your mind that you feel you would like to add, or like that we haven't touched on, that's just an important part of what you want to share today?
I think the last thing is just not to give up. Because like I said, I know financially I've thousands and thousands of dollars, but that's okay, because first of all, it is worth it to be free, but I think I'm really grateful that the desire, as I would do the programs that weren't working, the desire to have that freedom grew stronger, because I knew if I kept searching that I could figure it out, and so with your program, I know in another one of your videos you had said, what if this is the last thing that you want to do that's actually going to work. And it's amazing, because now my life is so different. I'm not searching anymore. I'm not searching about calories. I would search all the time about like binge eating disorder programs. I thought I was going to have to go inpatient. There was a lot of searching that I don't have to do anymore.
That's so awesome. I know, it's like we think we spend a lot of time with our binging disorder, and we do, and like our eating disorders, but then looking for solutions is like almost just as heavy as a problem. Like it takes so much time. So literally having your life back is like, oh, such a beautiful thing. And one thing that I just wanted to add to that is a lot of times we have this feeling, even when we get free, and freedom is a wonderful thing, but we have this feeling of like being upset with the things we've missed out on, the money that we've spent, the time that, we've put towards this, like, the hurt on our health. Like there's so many things that we can be upset about. And I think that your perspective is so important, because yes, like we've missed out on a lot. It costs a lot. It hurts us. But all of those things that you did got you to the place where you found freedom. So going to that place of gratitude, of like being grateful to your past self for continuing to look, being grateful for the things that haven't worked because they gave you more clarity, like you said, drove that motivation to get free. To go to that place of gratitude is an important and comforting step, because it gets you to where you need to go to get what you really want. Like if that's what you want, then keep searching and don't give up hope. And what an amazing message. Thank you, Mary Beth. That means so much. And congratulations. We are celebrating you. Such a cool thing, and so fun to see you again and just have you share your story. Anything else on your mind for today?
No, thank you so much. I'm just so grateful for you and all the women in the program. And it's just wonderful. It keeps on giving.
Yep. Amen. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And you guys, if you're in a place where you are searching, if this video is another one of your long list of like stuff you're searching to try to figure this out, know that there is help and support and hope for you, not just to like keep on figuring this out, but to like to be done with this. Like that's what it's all about. So you can go to lydialifestyle.com, and from there's a link to our live event coming up in Nashville, which will be so fun. That's March 8th, 9th, and 10th of 2018. If you're watching this after that date, that's fine. You can still go to lydialifestyle.com and you can click, and there is a link for just wonderful, a free masterclass, and then also a free session. That's the same thing that Mary Beth did, is that she's just like, hey, I'll do a free session. And that's when we first got connected. And that's really to help you to get the clarity and to close the gap on where you're struggling, where you want to be in your freedom. So I would encourage you to do any of that you feel inspired about. Keep coming back here for new videos all the time, more than every Monday now. I'm just going crazy with the videos now, but this is a fun place to be. So thank you guys. And this is Mary Beth and Lydia, the Lifestyle Coach, signing off. Mwah. Bye, guys. You have so many options. You can watch more videos. You can subscribe for new videos every Monday. You can even join our Facebook group with an amazing support community.